Good morning. It is Real Estate Tips Tuesday, and this week's tips, we're going to talk about homeowners insurance policies. If you have one, hopefully you read it. If you don't and you're looking for one, hopefully you really look through it to make sure that your policy covers the things that you think you might need. Here are 10 of the items that you should be looking out for in a typical policy, because a lot of policies don't cover these things and you might need some form of supplemental insurance. Here is number 1. You should look to see if your homeowner's insurance policy covers floods. So if you live in an area that has a lot of rain or excessive rain, hurricanes or rivers that typically overflow, you probably have to have some kind of supplemental insurance for that flooding. Usually homeowners flood policy only comes out when you have something like a burst pipe that bursts in your basement and floods out your basement. That's typically what those typical homeowners insurance policies covers. But if it's a natural disaster, you're kind of out of luck and you'll probably need a supplemental insurance policy. Number 2, do homeowners insurance policies cover earthquakes? If you live in an area where there's active fault lines or lots of earthquake activity, places like California, then you probably don't have earthquake insurance in your typical homeowners insurance policy. You probably have a special insurance policy, or you have to buy a supplemental one. Insurance policies will give kickbacks or discounts for people that upgrade their homes to make them structurally sound against earthquakes. So you might want to check into your own policy to see if it's covered there. Do homeowners insurance policies cover water leaks? So if a water leak is coming from, say, a bathroom sink, a pipe that's leaking suddenly or bursts, or a pipe in your basement that bursts or something like that, then yes, they will typically cover those kind of leakages. But if it's a slow leak or something that could have been preventable, that's leaking and nobody notices it for a while and then there's damage, then typically the policy will not cover it. But you need to make sure you go back and look through to see exactly what the wording is on that type of policy. Number 4, does a homeowner's insurance policy cover mold? So it kind of depends on how the mold got into your home. If the mold came from, say, a pipe that burst, or say your house was on fire and the firefighters doused it and then mold grew, then yes, they would probably typically cover that type of mold. But if you live in an area where there's lots of flooding or high humidity and the mold just grows and it can be prevented because it's an ongoing problem and you should be trying to mitigate it, then typically no, you'll have to get some kind of a supplemental insurance to cover mold in your home. Do homeowners and policies cover sewage and drainage backup? If you live in an area that has excessive raining and flooding or floods the sewer system and it kind of backs up into your home, you're kind of out of luck because they don't cover those types of things. So if you do have some kind of a sewer backup, you probably have to be cleaning it up and paying for it by yourself. But remember to check with your insurance agent or look over your policy to see if that actually is covered. Does homeowners insurance cover wear and tear? The answer is no, because wear and tear typically means that you're not keeping up with your home maintenance. So if you have some wear and tear that finally has some kind of catastrophic outcome, then the insurance policy is probably not going to cover that. But make sure that you look and see if that's true in your own policy. Number 7, does homeowners insurance policies cover you during a renovation? The answer is no. If you're doing a large renovation, like popping the top or adding an addition, then you'll need to get some kind of supplemental insurance, because typical insurance policies don't cover these types of renovations or projects. If you're just doing something cosmetic or you're just updating a couple things, you should be okay. So you will want to look into that with your homeowner's insurance policy. Along with, if you have a contractor that's doing the work, you'll want to look into their policy as well, because they do carry policies, but a lot of times they only cover new builds and not renovations. So you want to make sure that you understand that. If you live in a historical home in a historical neighborhood, you know that doing any kind of upgrade or cosmetic stuff to your home, you have to go through the Historical Society to get their approval. And most of the time, they typically tell you what you can and can't use on your home. So if your home is damaged due to something like a hailstorm, then you probably will have to purchase those on your own, because typical homeowners insurance will not cover what a Historical Society says that you need to do. So if you have a hailstorm that damages your siding, and the homeowner's insurance will be like, yeah, we'll cover $9,000 of this, type of shingle, but the Historical Society says, no, you have to use a specific shingle that costs way more, you more than likely will have to pay the difference between what the typical homeowner's insurance policy will pay and what you have to purchase based on the Historical Society's direction. So make sure you understand that in your policy. Number 9 is is your homeowner's insurance covered in acts of war? This is very interesting to me. So if the United States says that we are at war and your house gets destroyed during the war, you're kind of out of luck. Sorry. But acts of terrorism, if your house is destroyed or damaged for acts of terrorism, more than likely your homeowner's insurance will cover that. But that's something you might want to look into if you think that could be a possibility. And number 10 is wildfires. Now, typically wildfires are covered under homeowners insurance, but here in Colorado and some of the West Coast cities, we're having a lot of wildfires, and they're getting bigger and larger every year and causing more damage. So private insurance companies are having a harder time paying out money to their policyholders. So I believe in the near future, you will probably have to be getting some kind of supplemental insurance to live up in the gorgeous mountains here in Colorado. But make sure that you really read your policy before you go up into the mountains, because some homeowners insurance doesn't cover wildfires, and you don't want that to be the case if you're living up there during wildfire season. If you have any questions about this topic, or you just want to talk about real estate, please contact me through my social pages. And if you like this video, please press the like button and subscribe. And until next week, have a wonderful start to the month of November.